a judge, and now back as a mediator. I remember walking into David Young's court after he went on a bench. He served in the state attorney's office. He was appointed to the bench, re-elected for a second term, or elected for a first term, and then re-elected for a second term. And the first time I went in, he was lecturing a young man. He had a way of doing that. He took people under his wing. And he said, son, do you know the difference between ignorance and indifference? And the young man said, I don't know and I don't care. But in one of his high-profile cases, the America West pilots who were drunk on duty, his handling of that case caught the eye of Sony Television, and he was moved from circuit court to network court, and had 2 wonderful seasons as one of the most popular television judges in the United States, nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award. Unfortunately, the judicial retention system there is a little different, so he's back with us now doing mediation and enjoying life and spending and residing here in Miami with Scott Bernstein, Judge Scott Bernstein, his partner, and their dog Mackie. And you did, David, you used to do shows that were dedicated to the ASPCA? The Humane Society, so people would learn a little bit more about how to take care of their pets. He's a wonderful guy, a great judge, a great lawyer, and a great son. Please welcome Judge David Young.
And he's a great human being, Neil Sonnet. Let's hear for Neil Sonnet. He's really tries to be funny. He really does. And about as funny as election night was, which was not very funny. And if I upset some Republicans in the room, screw yourselves. I'm kidding. My father is a truly remarkable human being. And one of the blessings that Francie and I have had over the past umpteen years was that we were born to parents who deeply cared about us. And when you sit down at a dinner table with a family, which I know is so rare in this community, in this world, in this nation today, sitting down as a family, you learn not only about your parents, but you learn your parents. And you learn the morals, you learn the values, you learn the struggles that made your parents who they are. And unless you are completely turned off to life and don't have a clue, you have to grasp some of that. You have to learn some of that. And my father's story is so compelling. He is the first individual of his brothers and sister to have ever graduated college. He went to law school at the U. He went to undergraduate at the U. He did everything in 5 years. And my father will tell a story that he took 3 buses to get to school every day. And that's truly remarkable. When you think about it today, taking 3 buses to go anywhere, it shows a devotion and it shows a passion for the law. And it's that love and the passion for the law and for the University of Miami which really molded who Burton Young is today. It molded not only who Burton Young is today, but it molded who Francie Leon is today and who David Young is today. Because we learned from our father. When Dad decided in 1969, when Francie was just a little child, that he was going to run for president of the Florida Bar, he ran because he saw a system that was in need of repair. He saw a system in Tallahassee that was not responding to the needs of the lawyers in the state of Florida. Now, he could have very easily sat back and not done a thing and just let time take its course. But that's not Burton Young. Burton Young said, I'm going to run for this office and I'm going to win. Through the help of his law partner, he scoured the state of Florida. And people said, who is this Jew running? He's never been involved before, and he's a Jew. He has horns. And that was being said all over the state of Florida. And guess what? A person that never served on the Board of Governors, a complete outsider, won. He won. And when my mother tells the story when they met the Board of Governors for the first time, there was complete hostility toward my father and definitely toward my mother. But in typical Burton Young fashion, as he always taught us, you work hard and you prove your reputation one day at a time. And you stand on your principles and you believe in a higher good and you attain that higher good. And by the time you left the presidency of the Florida Bar, those critics were his biggest allies. And for the young lawyers in the room, and those who graduated in the class of 2000 specifically, it's a lesson to be learned. It's a lesson to be learned that simply sitting on the sidelines doesn't cut it in our profession. My father doesn't care about the political nature of a cause he takes up, because as Edward said, it's right and wrong. When he was president of the bar, there was this judge in the middle part of the state who was going to imprison a young man who was in his teens, send him to jail for 15 years for possessing one joint. One marijuana joint. He was going to get 15 years in state prison. My father, once again, could have said nothing, but that's not Burton Young. He went right into the judge's courtroom and said, "This is not right. This is not justice. You're here to uphold the law, and as a judge, your conduct is not keeping with the standards of judges should be." And you know what? He persuaded the judge to do the right thing. When, right after he became president, a bunch of Cuban lawyers came to my father and said, "Mr. Young, we were successful lawyers in Cuba. The Florida bar will not let us in. There are barriers that have been put up that won't let us practice law." My father said, "This is not right." So he took up their cause, and the guidelines and the restrictions were severely lessened. And that's why you had a president of the Florida Bar by the name of Frank Angonis, who was the recipient of Burton Young's tireless effort. That's a true story. Dad was visiting a client in Chrome. He was completely overwrought with the conditions of his fellow human beings in Chrome. It was one of the worst sights, my father said, he had ever seen in his entire life, the way we treated people. People were treated like worse than you could possibly imagine. Dad got a group together, got public attention, and you know what? He got it changed. One small voice, my young lawyer friends, got it changed. So you think to yourself, can I make a difference? Well, the answer to that question is yes, you can, if you follow Burton Young's lead. Recently, he saw that the Florida legislature and the courts were dealing with the issue of gay adoption. Now, did he do it because his son is openly gay? No, because I don't have kids. He did it because, again, it was the right thing to do. Because as a family lawyer, he has seen what it's like for children to go from one foster home to the next foster home. He's seen firsthand what it's like to have children's lives ruined. And for the legislature to act in such a draconian way was something that he was absolutely appalled with. So what did he do? He could have sat silently, but no. He got involved in the issue, he got involved in the cause, and you know what? The 3rd District Court of Appeal agreed with the trial judge in Miami, and finally we have the ability to determine a case by case of what is in the best interest of the child, which is what it should have been all along. And one more thing about the U that I didn't mention before I introduce my dad. He was the first president of the Florida Bar from the University of Miami Law School. Now, if they'd only win a couple more football games, I'm sure we'd all be very happy. You know, we're in a time in our state where we need more Burton Youngs. Because as sure as I'm standing here, my fellow alumnus of the University of Miami, my former colleagues on the bench, the legal community is going to be under attack in the state of Florida. The independence of the judiciary is going to be under attack in the state of Florida. And I believe it is in our own, not our own best interest, but the interest of the entire state of Florida, for everyone in this room, to follow the lead of the Distinguished Alumnus from 2000, Burton Young, and take a stand and say, as they said in the movie network, we are madder than hell and we're not going to take it any longer. And the person who shares that philosophy is the Distinguished Alumnus, my father, the incredible father. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up something. I need to call up one of the two most important people in my father's life who wants to say something. His granddaughter, Madison Farrell, and her brother, Jake, who's going to be on this for this month.
David, ours will be shortest year and funnier.
No question about it. And cuter, too.
Hi everyone. You all know my father as a fantastic lawyer and a very well-respected man. I know I don't need to